Hey guys, it's your boy Noah with another Psych video. So, what are we talking about? Today, we're talking about ADHD. So, what is ADHD? ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it is a brain disorder marked by an ongoing pattern of inattention and hyperactivity impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development. Wait, what is that? Go away. There we go. So, what exactly happens when you have ADHD? Well, some characteristics include inattention, which is the inability or difficulty of holding the attention or getting distracted easily. Impulsivity, which includes taking risks or interrupting, and speaking when you don't really think things properly. And hyperactivity, which means like you never really slow down, you keep on talking, fidgeting, as well as having difficulty staying on task. So you may be asking, what are like the risk factors that lead to this illness? So this one's a bit of a tough one. There really is no definite cause of ADHD. For one, it's heritable, and thus families who have a prior history with ADHD are much more prone to get ADHD than those who aren't. 3 times as many boys are diagnosed with ADHD than females, but not much is known about the actual risk factors themselves. Things such as genes, cigarette smoking, alcohol use, like during pregnancies, exposure to toxins during pregnancies, high levels of lead, low birth weight. A lot of those things can contribute to ADHD development, but no one is really quite sure. So in terms of whether there are types of people who are more prone to getting this illness, it turns out males are diagnosed a lot more than girls. Well, there's no really scientific reason to why, we don't know yet. But one thing to note about it is that females or girls also have a lot of coexisting problems along with the ADHD, such as depression and anxiety. So in terms of, finding like the warning signs or symptoms of the actual ADHD itself, this one's a bit of a toughie. So like the symptoms might seem really normal for someone going through like puberty, like a teenager or a child, because all about it's mainly being hyper, talking without thinking of the consequences and other things. What sets this apart is how it is detrimental to that person's life. So what you should look out for if this person's behavior is constant throughout the years, if it actually causes like a huge disturbance even after you teach them not to do it and they continue to do it, while that might be a form of incompetence, it could actually be a sign of ADHD. If they're walking around, if they're just talking, if they're blurting out random things to the class, it honestly just could be ADHD. This one's an incredibly hard thing to actually diagnose because it seems so common. But the thing is that the number of diagnoses has quadrupled in the last decade. Since like 1987, it's quadrupled. It's not really clear whether this is because the doctors have become more lazy, just started diagnosing them just to shut them up, or whether that our processes have become better and can diagnose them better. So this one's a bit of a tough thing. This is the science, like the science of the things. Well, so there's this study this was over the period of 10 years. One study used MRIs to compare children's brains with ADHD and those without. It turns out that the children with ADHD actually have physically smaller brains. The study showed that ADHD brains were between 3% or 4% smaller than the neurotypical brain. This could actually be, this is actually a pretty small difference, but it is consistent. Another consistent thing is The frontal lobe, which is most of the things where you would expect it to occur, is also smaller than those without it. You may be wondering, like, what are some statistics or facts about ADHD and all that stuff? So let me give you some. So, from this study from Barkley in 2007, it says that teen and young drivers with ADHD have 2 to 8 times more collisions, citations, and suspended licenses than teens and young adults without ADHD. This could be due to, like, we get distracted easily. You might want to take out your phone, so that might occur. Another one is 6.1 million children, or 9.4% of all children in the United States, have ever been diagnosed with ADHD. This includes around 3,800,000 young children, 2.4 million school-age children, 6 to 7, and also 3.3 million adolescents from 12 to 17. Another one is, this is for occupations, like jobs and stuff. So this is a study made in 2013 that studied the jobs for young adults with ADHD from 23 to 32. They are 11 times more likely to be unemployed and not in school. So in terms of like myths and like preconceptions about ADHD in general, so one of them is that people think of it as just like a natural trait of growing up, and children in general, that people who get it are just pain in the necks, and we're just slapped with the ADHD diagnosis just to shut them up. But it's not just children who are diagnosed with ADHD. Over around 4.4% of the US adult population suffer from the disorder, which equates to around 10 million. In terms of resources for ADHD, one great one is from the National Institute of Mental Health, the link which I'll put here. There's one from the CDC, which like mostly has facts, symptoms, all that stuff, which can be found like here. And then also there's this government-sponsored help and information website for parents and children who want to know more about the disease itself. So I'll link that here. Of course, all of these will be linked down in the description below, so there you go. I found something really interesting while researching this topic. So, you know how like the act of having an abnormal amount of attentiveness in an act is usually common in like ADHD and things, but it's kind of confusing and ironic that a disorder not about being attentive can make you more focused. But a person who's like, there's something called hyperfocus, which a person who's doing this can stay focused on a single thing for hours at a time. It usually seems to occur when they're doing a task with a high amount of stimuli, such as video gaming or video editing. In my experience, this case occurs most often when I'm doing complicated tasks, such as video editing as well as gaming. Hopefully this little video snippet thingy actually was helpful and really helped you understand how ADHD affects people and give you more of an understanding on what it is and what there is to prevent it and how people are trying to reduce its impact.